All right, guys. So we are getting started for our classwork for Wednesday and Thursday. Remember that we are starting our classwork today, but it is due on Thursday. Okay. So let's go to Schoology together, and you're going to go to your course. I'm just going to work in first period, but you will go to whatever class you take your English course, and we are going to click on the unit plan folder and then click on the standard level skills folder. From there, you want to go to this week's folder, September 21st through 25th, and then go to Wednesday's folder. And by now, you should have definitely read the Wednesday slides, but we are going straight to our work for today and tomorrow. We want to click on the PDF document that says History in ROT. ROT stands for Roll of Thunder. Okay, so now this document opens in a preview, and you are able to read it and do just read it here, but you cannot do everything you need to do here. So let's go ahead and click on the arrow in the top right corner. I am going to send this document to my PDF cabinet app. That's the app with the purple highlighter. If you have not downloaded PDF cabinet, you must do that prior to downloading this document. So you need to pause your video here and go to self-service and download PDF cabinet if you have not already done so. Since I have it, I'm going to click on PDF cabinet. Now you'll see it a lot of places here. That's not an error. I've just opened it several times in my PDF cabinet. So I'm going to click on my document and click open document. Now my document has opened in PDF cabinet, but I need to be ready to annotate that document. So you see how I just click the screen? So it opens like this and you can't see anything. But if you just tap the screen, you see the word annotate at the top. I'm going to click on annotate. Now, before I start working in it, we want to read. So reading is key and fundamental. You won't understand what to do if you don't read. So this is a lesson on comparing history and fiction in Roll of Thunder. We want to take a look at education in Roll of Thunder and then the actual history of education in the 1930s. We're choosing the 1930s because the book, of course, takes place in the 1930s. So let's read our lesson goal. Explain how Mildred Taylor uses or alters history in Roll of Thunder, Hear My Cry, as Cassie, the narrator, explains the difference between education for white versus African American students. So we have already read chapter 1. In chapter 1, we see Cassie talking about the white school and the black school. And so we want to compare what she tells us to the actual history so we can tell how Mildred Taylor, the author, uses history or how she changed history when she wrote Roll of Thunder, Hear My Cry. So our document tells us that there's a before you read, so don't scroll past this because these are things you have to do. So the before you read instructions say, before you begin reading, define each of the following words. If you need help, refer to Monday's slides. So this part is important. If you need help, refer to Monday's slides. So I want to underline that. If you need help, refer to Monday's slides, okay? So Monday's slides defined all of these words because all four of these words come from the actual standard, okay? So if you don't know what these words mean, you can look in Monday's slides. So we need to be able to type here. We're not going to write with our finger or with our Apple Pencil. We are going to type. So we've already clicked annotate. And so you should have a button at the bottom of your screen just like I have. So hold your finger on that button and then go up, follow the line to the ABC button. And from there, go to the ABC button with the line, with the cursor mark in front of it, not the one with the bubble. So let's go here. And now let's click where we want the text box. So now a box has appeared. I am not using my keyboard, like the external keyboard. I'm using the keyboard on the iPad. I like this one better, okay? So I'm on my smallest A. You see where right above here you can change the size of your text. We need this text to be small to be able to fit in our entire box. So from our standard notes, we know that compare means to tell how things are similar. So I'm just going to type that answer in my box. And now these dots around this box tells me that I can resize it. I'm going to resize. And put that box directly in my box. And I'm done with it, so I'm going to click done. There we go. So my definition is now in my box. You're going to do that 3 more times to define all of those words. I'm not going to do that on this video, but you can go ahead and continue with that portion of the assignment. Just pause the video. Now, let's continue to the while you read. So let's read our instructions. As you read, you will annotate the historical document. These annotations will help you later in the lesson. Use your markup tools in the PDF cabinet or the Files app to complete your annotations. So we're in PDF cabinet. Now let's see what we are annotating for. So I'm going back to my pen because I like to write as I talk and be able to underline. So we want to circle words we do not know. Okay. Now this part is just an extra. You only have to go and define the words if you do not understand the passage. Like if you understand the passage without necessarily knowing what those words mean, then that's fine. Okay. And we can talk about what those words mean when you come to the live session. And then in our margins, we're going to write. So after we read each section of the article, we are going to write the central idea for that section. Now, what are sections? So if you click your next button, you can see the sections. So you won't be confused, I have highlighted the sections in yellow. Okay, so this is their first section, that's number 1. And then this is number 2. And this is number 3. So you have 3 different sections. So that means that you will have a central idea for number 3, number 2, and number 1. So when you get done with your text, you should have 3 central ideas written in the margins. Now you may be saying, what are margins? So these are margins. This white space. So on your paper, you're not going to write the word margins. You're going to read this section and you will write the actual central idea or the main idea for that section. Okay, so let's go back. The last thing we want to do is highlight. So the instructions say choose 2 different highlighter colors. And you want to highlight facts about white schools in one color and highlight facts about African American schools in a different color. I am going to hold my finger on this button. The highlighter is the second icon from the left. I'm going here. I'm holding my finger down because I don't want you to think that you only have 4 colors. If you like to see more color options, let's move to the green button and then the 3 dots and let go, and then you see all these other options. So I am going to pick this teal color for my white students or white schools. So I'm going to highlight every fact about white schools in this greenish, like seafoam green color. And then I want to pick another color. I'll do purple for African American schools. So every time I see a fact about African American schools or education, I will highlight that in pink. And every time I see a fact about white schools or education for white students, I'll highlight that in my green color. So let's go to the next page. And I always like to write a key. So I need to pick that same color, and I'm going to write white. I'm writing white in that color so that I know I highlight white for that color or with that color. And then I need to pick that pinkish color for black. Okay, there we go. So that helps me know what colors to use for my highlighting. Now I'm not going to read the entire section 1. I'm just going to read enough for you to get an idea of when to highlight. All right, so let's begin reading. The Education of Black Children in the Jim Crow South. Author Russell Brooker, PhD. Education is the key to economic success. It is true now, and it was true in the Jim Crow South. Southern education was not very good, even for white children. But education for blacks in the South in the early 1900s was worse in many ways. Section 1. Why education for African American children was inferior. Southern schools were racially segregated. Blacks and whites had to attend different schools. The separate school systems were not equal. Schools for white children received more public money. So this is a fact about education for white children. I need to highlight that in my green color. As I look at my highlighter, it's on pink. So I need to change it to my green color. And I'm going to highlight only that sentence, not the whole section. Fewer African Americans were enrolled in school. That's a fact about black children. I need my pink color to highlight just that sentence. Black children were often pulled out school because they were needed on the farm. Another fact about education. Many of their parents were sharecroppers. Now that's a fact, but not necessarily about education, so I'm not highlighting. To plant and harvest enough crops, sharecroppers' children had to work alongside their parents. Still not highlighting, even though that's historically grounded, it's a historical fact. I'm not highlighting because it's not necessarily about children. It is connected, but it's not necessarily about education. Even if they weren't needed on the farm, the white owner of their farm might pull black children out if he decided they were needed for work. Or he might simply believe that African American children did not deserve an education. Now, since this is about education and African American children, I'm going to highlight all of that. Let's do one more. There were not as many public schools available for blacks. If a town did not have enough money for 2 separate schools, they built only one school for white children. This was especially true in the rural towns because most rural towns had little money. So now I want my white color because this is a fact about education for white children. If a town had to choose who had a school, white children did. Now, the other thing, remember, that we were supposed to do is circle words that we did not know. I knew these words, but there may be some words that you don't know. Like you might not know what rural means, so I'm just going to circle it. You might not know what a sharecropper is. I'm circling that as well. And you also might not know segregated. Now, if you have not seen a word that you don't understand, you won't have any circling and you won't lose credit for that. However, if there is a word that you do not understand, please do circle it. Okay? So I'm going to stop here for the video, but you continue and you will do this for the entire video. Once you finish reading each section, remember that you must go back to that section and write in the margins what the central idea is. Okay? So the central idea goes in the margins. If you have any questions, you can always come to the live or email me at my Kennell email address. You can always find this email address at the very top of the page in Schoology. All right, guys, we are done.